The ultimate automobiles are sports cars. These are the cars that everyone dreams of owning. Driving a truly remarkable sports automobile is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, although not every sports car is the same. Many of them are, in fact, quite bad. If you want a pleasant driving experience and want to avoid the high repair maintenance expenses and other disappointments that come with owning a desirable, yet extremely unreliable, fatally faulty sports car, there are numerous models you should avoid at all costs while shopping for one. It's possible that some sports cars could even spontaneously ignite. Now that's what we call a smoke show. Stick around to see the worst examples of sports cars. Number 12. DeLorean DMC-12. Most people would agree that the DeLorean is the most disappointing car ever made. As a result of its appearance in Back to the Future, this odd car has widespread cultural significance. Unfortunately, the real-life DMC-12 isn't as cool as the time machine we all love from the blockbuster movies. The DeLorean's engine was woefully inadequate. The V6 engine barely produces 130 horsepower. While the outside was stunning, it did little to enhance sales. Within just 2 years of its debut, production of the sporty vehicle was halted. As of 1982, DeLorean was no longer in business and has never produced another vehicle. We honestly wouldn't expect anything different, would you? Number 11. Jaguar XJ220. While the XJ220's brilliance is undeniable, it was plagued by a number of problems that left its owners dissatisfied. The issue started well before the 1992 release of the XJ220. Jaguar released a concept model of the XJ220 supercar in the early 1990s. The massive V12 engine and all-wheel drive system were advertised as standard equipment for the car. The XJ220's all-wheel drive system was removed from the production model, and its number of cylinders was reduced by half. Furthermore, Jaguar's initial advertised price for the supercar was lower than the final price customers paid. Customers were understandably frustrated by all the last-minute adjustments. Number 10. SATURN SKY. This SATURN SKY was GM's last-ditch effort to revive the Saturn brand. The car that was supposed to have Saturn ended up being a major factor in the company's demise as a GM subsidiary. None of the buyers were satisfied with this little sports automobile. Only about 180 horsepower was available from the base model. The most potent turbocharged Sky still couldn't muster up more than 300 horsepower though. The interior was boring and poorly built, and the exterior was ugly. Around 30,000 were sold before GM stopped making them in 2010. Just a few months after opening, Saturn went out of business forever. Number 9. Chevrolet Corvette C1, 1953. Perhaps it will come as a surprise to learn that the Chevrolet Corvette, one of the most recognizable cars in the world, had a rocky start to its production run. In January of 1953, General Motors showed off the first Corvette prototype. Chevy knew that they had to release the model that year to meet the skyrocketing demand. Naturally, that didn't have a happy ending. One can see that the assembly line for the 1953 Corvette was pushed to its limits. The vehicle had a number of problems, including various leaks and the potential of the doors opening while it was being driven. The car needed major upgrades to increase sales and stay on the market. Is this news to you about the Chevrolet? Number 8. Ferrari Mondial. One of the worst Ferraris ever produced was the Mondial, which was designed and built by a different team entirely. The Mondial is largely responsible for Ferrari's reputation for producing faulty vehicles. No one thought much of the Mondial when it was first released in the 80s, and that opinion hasn't changed. You wouldn't necessarily expect Ferrari to create a weak, unreliable supercar, but stranger things have happened. Not surprisingly, the Mondial is one of the more reasonably priced Ferraris available. We wonder why. Number 7. MITSUOKA Orochi. No reasonable person could ever question Orochi's lavishness. Even if its style is definitely one of a kind, it may not be to everyone's taste. The first generation of this wild Japanese supercar first appeared in the middle of the millennium. The irony is not lost on us that this monstrosity was created to take on Ferraris. The Orochi does not offer anything new in terms of performance, and its design isn't much better. In reality, it is extremely similar to the Honda NSX and uses several Lexus-supplied components. That could improve the car's dependability, but it also explains why the Orochi is so weak. It has a V6 engine, but it only makes 231 horsepower because Toyota produced it. Number 6. Porsche 914. The 914 is remembered as one of the worst cars in Volkswagen's history. This mid-engine sports car was co-developed by Porsche and Volkswagen as the company's entry-level model. Launched in 1969, sales ended just 7 years later. The 914 was a commercial failure despite its unique styling and targa top. The sports car's boxer engine was pathetically weak, producing only around 100 horsepower. The 914 could handle sharp corners with ease, but its lackluster acceleration made it unappealing. Number 5. Lamborghini URRACO. In the early 1970s, Lamborghini frantically tried to expand its clientele and increase its sales. That's why it made sense for the Italian car maker to jump into the market for affordable high-performance vehicles. The URRACO, introduced in 1973, was the first and only budget-friendly Lamborghini supercar. Although visually stunning, the URRACO's build quality and performance fell short of expectations. It had a V8 engine but only produced 180 horsepower. Even worse, the URRACO was never as popular as the Countach because of its lack of sparkle. Lamborghini halted production of the model 6 years after its introduction because it had sold only about 800 units. Number 4. Pontiac Fiero. The Fiero was at first glance an attractive sports car option. Speakers built into the backs of the seats were just one of the many firsts for the industry. Initially released for the 1984 model year, production of the car was halted only 5 years later. The Fiero's reputation began to decline almost immediately after its debut. The automobile was infamous for its unreliability and lackluster performance, but the real trouble lay elsewhere. After a series of explosions, the Fiero was considered hazardous. In 1984, 1 out of every 508 Fieros experienced an explosion or a fire of its own accord. Would it be appropriate to use the term, "this car is fire"? Number 3. COVINI C6W. The COVINI C6W is a 2-seat, 2-door Italian sports car that features a retractable roof and 2 sets of smaller wheels up front. The shortage of readily available low-profile tires caused the project to be shelved in 1974 and kept it dormant until the 1980s. The C6W project was restarted in 2003, and its first working prototype debuted in 2004. At the 2005 Salon International de l'Auto, PMI and COVINI Engineering unveiled a significantly redesigned version with new wheels, a revamped roof structure, and updated interior. They then began producing a small run of 6 to 8 vehicles annually. The vehicle can reach speeds of up to 186 miles per hour because of its powerful rear-mounted 8-cylinder engine. It costs a stunning $640,000 to own this hideous 6-wheeled sports automobile. In 2008, this Italian design made its first appearance. Greater wheels on the ground should provide more grip and better handling, which is ostensibly why the extra 2 wheels were added. Number 2. Vector W8. You probably haven't heard of this unusual sports automobile before. Vector Motors, a car manufacturer based in California, created the automobile in the 1980s. Only 22 of the automobiles were ever made. For all the wrong reasons, the W8 was front-page news. Andre Agassi, a professional tennis player, returned a 1991 model year Vector GT after its exhaust system caught fire. As a result of mechanical failures in all 3 test vehicles sent to car and driver that same year, the publication was unable to evaluate the vehicle. In retrospect, it's not surprising that the W8 was a total flop. Number 1. Ford Mustang, 2nd and 4th gen. Ford Mustang, like the Chevrolet Camaro before it, has become a symbol of American motor culture. During the Mustang's nearly 6-decade production span, some truly remarkable models have been created. Unfortunately, the 2nd and 4th generations are not included. The possibility exists that these Mustangs are the worst ever built. Since the 3rd generation, Fox Body Mustang was such a fantastic vehicle, it has recently been the subject of a renewed interest. Contrarily, the 4th generation should be forgotten. The interior and exterior design are also not helping its standing. A number of 1999 Mustang drivers have mentioned hearing a rattling in the exhaust at high speeds. Some owners were able to silence their vehicles by repairing the muffler's heat shield. However, the vast majority of owners were unable to do so. For this issue, property owners have typically spent $650 on average. Some 1999 Mustang drivers have complained that their vehicles occasionally refuse to start. Some 2002 Mustang drivers have reported problems with their vehicle's engine, including spark plugs flying out of the cylinders and a sluggish response to acceleration. For the 1974 model year, the company released the 2nd generation of the Mustang, just after the oil crisis had caused a significant increase in the cost of gasoline in the US. It was reasonable to redesign the Mustang to be more fuel efficient, but the new model has failed to achieve the same level of legend as its predecessor. The standard trim's flat 4 engine maxed out at roughly 90 horsepower. The fastest production Mustang 2, powered by a V8, reached 60 miles per hour in 10.5 seconds and was rated at 140 horsepower. Ford managed to sell over 1.1 million units of the current generation Mustang, despite the car's dismal performance numbers. Sorry for the absolutely disappointing list of car creations. We know this must have been a sore to the eyes and ears. You know what could help relieve that pain? The wonderful video about the 12 most expensive speedboats you can buy on our channel. We'll see you there.